In this video, we're going to talk about a group of tunnels that were built under the ruins of the Middle Snow Kutris. There are two possibilities for these mysterious tunnels, which makes this place even more interesting. Possibility number one is that these tunnels were used by the military in order to spy on the citizens, and possibility number two is that they were used by the citizens in order to smuggle food into the city. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. As usual, time has been called, and I am your host. Before we begin, I want to thank every single one of you guys who have subscribed, because it means the world to me. I know I say this in almost every video, but it really does mean the world to me. I can't believe we're so close to hitting 60,000 subscribers, which means I'll have to make a special video for you guys. But until then, let's just get into today's video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the mysterious tunnels of Carcassonne. Now, if you don't know what Carcassonne is, it is a medieval city in southern France that has UNESCO World Heritage status. It was first inhabited in the 6th century BC by the Gauls, and then later became part of the Roman Empire. In the Middle Ages, Carcassonne was a fortified city and was the capital of the county of Toulouse. Now, the reason why I chose Carcassonne is because I recently visited this place myself, and I've always wanted to make a video on it. It's such an amazing place. I highly recommend that you go there if you've never been. The architecture is absolutely stunning. I was walking around with my mouth open the entire time because it's just so beautiful. There are these tall, imposing walls that surround the city, and inside the walls are a bunch of narrow streets and alleys, as well as some impressive buildings like the Basilica of Saint-Nazaire and the Castle of Carcassonne. What's most interesting about this place, though, is the fact that it has a pretty dark history. Carcassonne was actually the site of a brutal siege in 1209 during the Albigensian Crusade. This was a religious war that took place in southern France in the 13th century between the Catholic Church and the Cathars, also known as the Albigenses. Now, the Cathars were a dualist religious sect that was very popular in this region, and they believed that the world was actually made up of two substances, good and evil. They also rejected the authority of the Pope and the traditional Christian beliefs about sin and salvation. This obviously didn't sit well with the Catholic Church, and so in 1208, Pope Innocent III launched a crusade against them, which resulted in the brutal suppression of the Cathar people. This brings us to the tunnels of Carcassonne. Now, there are two possibilities for what these tunnels were used for. So let me tell you both of them, so you can decide for yourself which one you think is true, or if you think there might be something else going on here. Possibility number one is that these tunnels were used by the military in order to spy on the citizens of Carcassonne. Now, as I mentioned before, Carcassonne was a fortified city with high walls that surrounded it. These walls were built in order to protect the citizens from outside invaders, but they also served another purpose. They created a sort of barrier between the military and the people living inside the city. See, the military wasn't exactly keen on having the citizens walking around freely inside the city. They wanted to keep them confined to a certain area, so that they would not be able to interfere with their operations. So they built these tunnels along the walls so that they could spy on the citizens and make sure they were behaving. Also, back in medieval times, the military was basically always at war with someone. So if there was ever a surprise attack, they could use these tunnels to quickly move around the city and defend it. Possibility number two is that these tunnels were used by the citizens of Carcassonne to smuggle food into the city. Now, as I mentioned before, the military wanted to keep the citizens out of their way, and one of the ways they did this was by controlling the gates to the city. The military would only allow a certain amount of people to leave and enter the city at certain times. And if they didn't like someone, they could just stop them from entering or leaving. This was obviously a huge inconvenience for the citizens, and it also made it difficult for them to trade with people outside the city. So they came up with a solution. they dug a series of tunnels underneath the city walls. This way, they could bring in food and other supplies without having to go through the gates. Of course, the military eventually found out about these tunnels and tried to block them, but the citizens just kept digging new ones. This kept going on for years, until the military finally gave up. I should mention that there is no historical evidence to support either of these theories. All we have are these tunnels and some old documents that mention that there were tunnels here. So we really don't know what they were used for. What do you guys think? Do you think they were used by the military or by the citizens, or maybe they were used for both? Let me know in the comments below. Also, while I was researching this video, I came across some other pretty interesting things about Carcassonne. For example, did you know that the city was almost completely destroyed in the 16th century? Yeah. A big fire broke out in 1545 that burned down a big chunk of the city. And then, a few decades later, it was hit by a massive earthquake that caused even more damage. These disasters, along with the French Revolution and the rise of industrialization in the 19th century, nearly turned Carcassonne into a ghost town. But luckily, it was saved by a group of historians and archaeologists who saw its value as a historic site. They began excavating the ruins and restoring the city to its former glory. Today, it's one of the most popular tourist destinations in France. Another interesting thing about Carcassonne is that it's home to one of the largest underground rivers in Europe. This river is called the Orbe, and it flows beneath the city for over 30 kilometers. The water is so clear that you can see right through it. I couldn't find any information on whether or not the citizens of Carcassonne used this river to transport food via boats, or if the military used it to hide from the citizens, but I think it's pretty safe to say that both of them probably used it for whatever their needs were. One last thing I want to talk about before we end this video is the legend of the Lady in White. Now, this is a local legend that says that there is a ghost that haunts the city walls of Carcassonne. The story goes that there was a young woman who lived in the city in the Middle Ages. She was known as the Lady in White because she always wore white clothes. One day, she was walking along the city walls when she saw a group of soldiers approaching. She knew that these soldiers were looking for her because she had been involved in a political scandal and they wanted to arrest her. So she ran away. She ran all the way to the top of the city walls and jumped off. As she was falling, she turned into a white dove and flew away. Some people say that the dove is still flying around the city walls to this day. If you listen closely, you might be able to hear her sad cry echoing through the wind. Now, I don't know if I believe in ghosts or not, but this is definitely a fun story to tell. Who knows? Maybe there really is a ghost of a lady in white wandering around the city walls of Carcassonne. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed learning about the tunnels of Carcassonne. I thought it was a fascinating place, and I hope you get the chance to visit someday. If you did enjoy this video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time.